The clock on the dashboard of the battered Toyota Corolla blinked 11:48 p.m. The coastal road outside San Diego lay deserted, broken only by the crash of waves against rocky cliffs and the dim glow of streetlights casting shadows on the rain-slick asphalt. Ana Martinez leaned her head back slightly, both hands gripping the steering wheel. A 16-hour shift in the pediatric ward had drained every ounce of strength from her. Her scrub top was damp with sweat, and dark strands of hair had slipped loose from her bun and clung to her temples. Heavy eyelids sagged under exhaustion, the dark circles beneath them marking the toll of adulthood she was forced to carry too soon. She sighed, thinking of her younger brother Miguel, just 17, who was likely still glued to his video games in their tiny National City apartment. With their parents gone too soon, Ana took on the role of breadwinner and guardian. Bills piled high, and Miguel's looming tuition weighed on her shoulders. Tonight, she hadn't even managed a proper meal. Just a little longer, she whispered to herself, gripping the wheel tighter, fighting against the pull of sleep. Suddenly, the Corolla shuddered violently. A piercing screech tore from the front wheel, followed by a deafening bang. In a heartbeat, Ana screamed as the steering wheel jerked free of her control. The car skidded out of its lane, slammed into the steel guardrail, and plummeted down the seaside embankment. The world spun into chaos, a cacophony of twisting metal shattering glass, exploding like 1,000 razor-edged shards. Her body was slammed against the seatbelt, every impact rattling her ribs. When the motion finally ceased, she realized she was hanging upside down. Blood dripped steadily from her forehead. The stench of gasoline filled her lungs, seizing her chest. Frantic, she fumbled for the seatbelt release, but her left arm was numb, useless. Every movement sent a stabbing pain lancing through her shoulder. "No, I can't." Ana's voice broke, tears mingling with blood. She thought of Miguel, how he would sit waiting, not knowing his sister would never come home. The thought deepened her despair. Then in the darkness came the sound of footsteps. Slow, steady, unhurried, as if whoever approached did not need to rush. "Help!" Ana croaked, voice ragged with desperation. A flashlight beam cut through the wreckage, framing the silhouette of a man. Polished leather shoes gleamed absurdly immaculate amid the wreck. A deep voice rolled out smooth yet edged with steel. "What the hell are you doing here at this hour?" Ana couldn't make out his face, but the calm authority in his tone made her heart stir with hope and fear. "Please, help me. There's gas leaking." The man didn't answer immediately. Glass crunched beneath his shoes as he stepped closer. Within seconds, the mangled door was wrenched open with terrifying strength. A firm yet warm hand reached in, locking around her. "Close your eyes. I'll get you out." In her panic, Ana had no choice but to surrender. She let her weight fall into his grasp. With one powerful pull, he freed her from the twisted wreck. Moments later, she collapsed against a solid chest, catching the faint scent of sandalwood mingled with smoke. A sleek black SUV waited on the roadside above. The stranger lifted her, effortlessly cradling her as if she weighed nothing, and laid her in the back seat. Just before the door shut, Ana caught sight of men in black suits emerging from the shadows, tall, expressionless earpieces in place, their hands brushing against their jackets where weapons likely hid. Her breath hitched. "Who are you?" she whispered. The man finally met her gaze. Piercing gray-blue eyes flickered with unreadable light. The corner of his lips curved half a smile, half a command, "Daniel Wilson. And from then on, Ana Martinez, you will no longer be free." Blood trickled from her brow as consciousness slipped. His words carved themselves into her mind, an ominous vow before darkness claimed her. Ana thought she had just survived a tragic accident. But it was no coincidence. The man who rescued and imprisoned her, Daniel Wilson, kept secrets powerful enough to upend her life and Miguel's. If you've ever believed love begins only with tender moments, step once into this world, where a single twist of fate can open the door to desire, power, and sweet captivity. Stay with the story to discover what awaits Ana beyond this night. Ana awoke beneath a wash of ivory light that filled the room. The ceiling soared high above, adorned with intricate classical patterns. Silver curtains draped elegantly from the tall windows, the morning sun slipping softly through their layers, gentle yet unfamiliar. She stirred, and a sharp pain flared in her left shoulder, making breathing difficult. Her hand rose instinctively to her head, brushing against the clean bandages wrapped around her temple. The faint fragrance in the room sandalwood laced with jasmine made her realize this was neither a hospital nor her cramped apartment. Anna sat up abruptly, only to feel her body sink with heaviness. The cool silk blanket slid from her, revealing a delicate nightdress fitted perfectly to her form. Her heart pounded at the thought, who had changed her clothes? The large mahogany door swung open. A man entered, his hair flecked with gray, neatly combed. A light-colored suit draped across his frame. A leather briefcase in hand. He smiled the courteous smile of an experienced physician. "Miss Martinez, you're awake. I'm Mr. Wilson's private doctor. Your left shoulder was dislocated but has been set in place. A few minor cuts required stitches, but you'll recover." Anna stared at him bewildered. Her throat felt parched as she rasped, "Where am I?" The doctor hesitated for a moment before replying gently, "In Mr. Daniel Wilson's estate. It is the safest place for you right now." Anna's heart skipped. That name again. The man with the gray-blue eyes. The doctor finished his brief examination, offered a few instructions, and departed. Moments later, the door opened again, revealing a different figure. He entered without a sound, as though the entire room had been waiting for his presence. Daniel Wilson. His suit was immaculate dark gray over a crisp white shirt with the top button undone, a Swiss watch glinting under the sunlight. His gaze swept over Anna, steady, assessing, unshakably calm. Not the eyes of a stranger, but of someone who already knew too much. "You woke faster than I expected." Anna clutched the blanket tighter, torn between fear and curiosity. "Why am I here? I should be in a hospital. I need to call my brother." Daniel approached slowly, each step weighted with an authority that thickened the air around her. He stopped at her bedside, leaning in until their breaths nearly mingled. "Miguel has already been told his sister was in an accident, but that she's recovering at a hospital. He believes you're safe, and you are safe, but only here." Anna froze. Miguel? How did he know her brother's name? "You investigated me?" Daniel's faint smile betrayed no denial. "I never bring a stranger into my home without knowing who they are." Her chest tightened. Anger clashed with helplessness inside her. She wanted to shout to resist, but his eyes silenced her. They didn't threaten. They commanded the eyes of someone who had long held dominion over the fate of others. Silence stretched taut and heavy. Daniel sat casually in the chair beside her bed, arms folded. "Do you know why your car's tire blew out last night?" Anna frowned. "My car is old. Breakdowns are normal." "It wasn't a breakdown. Someone deliberately slit the tire just enough to burst at high speed. If I hadn't happened to be passing by, you wouldn't be sitting here now." His words cut like a cold blade. Sweat broke across her skin despite the room's coolness. The accident had not been an accident. Her voice trembled. "What do you mean? Why would anyone want to hurt me?" Daniel tilted his head, his gaze piercing her as though he could read her thoughts. "Because you are not merely a poor nurse. Your father left behind more complications than you realize." Anna's breath caught. She forced herself upright despite the searing pain glaring at him. "Don't drag my father into this. He died in a workplace accident." "That's the end of it." Daniel said nothing. He rose, crossed to the window, and drew back the curtains. Sunlight poured in, casting his imposing frame into sharp relief, his expression unreadable but for a faint, enigmatic smile. "Believe me, Anna, your father's accident resembles your own more than you think." A chill rippled down her spine. Her heart thrashed, anger, fear, confusion, all colliding. "What do you want from me?" Daniel turned, his gray-blue eyes blazing in the morning light. He strode back to her, leaning so close that his breath warmed the space between them. "I want you to stay here until I am certain no one can touch you. And in that time, you belong to me." Anna went rigid, her pulse racing wildly, not only from fear, but from the disquieting pull of his presence. She wanted to protest, but her voice faltered. Daniel didn't wait for her answer. He left the room, his scent and his shadow lingering like chains. Anna sat frozen, gripping the blanket in her fists, her mind spiraling with dread. Had she been rescued? Or ensnared in a gilded cage with no escape? Beyond the window, men in black suits patrolled silently across the manicured lawns. Every measured movement confirmed it. This was no home. It was a fortress. And she, Anna Martinez, was its captive center. One question gnawed at her relentless. Why would a man as powerful as Daniel Wilson set his sights on a nurse like her, the third night at the Wilson estate? Anna sat before the wide window, gazing at the rose garden trimmed to perfection under the pale moonlight. Guards patrolled in a steady rhythm, a presence that felt both protective and suffocating. Since waking here, she could not shake the sense that unseen eyes were always on her, even when the room was empty. The antique clock on the wall struck 12, its chimes reverberating through the silence, blending with the distant crash of waves along the shore. Instead of peace, the sound carried a chilling weight, like the countdown to something inevitable. Anna touched her left shoulder, where the wound still throbbed faintly. The quiet pressed against her chest until she thought she might cry, but her tears had long run dry since the night of the accident. A knock sounded on the heavy wooden door, polite yet firm. Before she could answer, it opened. Daniel entered. He was not dressed in his usual suit, but in a white shirt with an unbuttoned collar sleeves, rolled high to reveal strong forearms. The sight unsettled her. Since the night he had pulled her from the wreckage, she had never seen him look this unguarded. "You're still awake." His voice was deep, slightly hoarse with weariness, yet his eyes burned bright. Anna turned away, not wanting him to see the fear shimmering in her gaze. "It's too quiet here. I'm not used to it." Daniel stepped closer, stopping just behind her. The nearness of his presence made her shoulders tremble. He didn't touch her. He didn't need to. His presence filled the room heavy and commanding. "Silence is strange to you," he murmured. "But to me, it's necessary. Out there, it's far more chaotic than you realize." Anna spun around, eyes flashing with defiance. "I'm just an ordinary nurse. Who would want to hurt me? Or are you simply inventing excuses to keep me here?" Daniel's brows drew together slightly. He sank into a chair opposite her, crossing one leg over the other. Gray-blue eyes never leaving her face. "If I wanted to keep you, Anna, I wouldn't need an accident. I have 1,000 ways to make sure you never leave." The words lodged in her throat. He wasn't threatening her, he was stating a fact. The silence grew taut until Daniel spoke again, his tone low, steady, cutting. "Your father borrowed money he could never repay. When he died, the debt didn't vanish. It shifted to those still living." Anna shook her head fiercely. "That's impossible. My father was a factory worker his entire life. He never once broke his principles." Daniel's lips curved faintly, half a smile, half a wound. "Principles don't feed a family. He fought to save your mother from the hospital. He fought to pay Miguel's tuition. Desperation turns men into gamblers." At the sound of her brother's name, Anna's fists clenched. Miguel, the reason she endured the burden she bore. Fear for him struck her harder than the pain in her shoulder. "What have you done to Miguel?" Danielle leaned back, studying her carefully. "The boy is safe for now. But you must understand Miguel becomes the easiest target once people discover your weakness." Anna shivered. She hated the truth in his words, yet couldn't deny it. Every memory of Miguel skipping classes, every late-night call, every angry outburst since their father's death, each one whispered how vulnerable he was. Daniel rose, stepping closer. He leaned down, his breath grazing her ear as he whispered, "They've already approached him, Anna. And if I'm not mistaken, it was Miguel unknowingly revealed your schedule." Her heart clenched like a fist inside her chest. She stumbled back, hand flying to her mouth. No, he would never betray me." Daniel said nothing. His eyes gleamed cold, yet softened with something that felt like pity. Betrayal or coercion, the outcome is the same. That accident wasn't a chance. Anna collapsed into the chair, her mind spinning. She saw Miguel's face, youthful, restless, avoiding her eyes whenever she pressed him. Part of her longed to reject Daniel's claim, but another part knew he never spoke without certainty. Lost in the storm of her thoughts, Anna startled as his hand lifted her chin. The sudden gesture froze her. His eyes bore into hers so close that their breaths mingled. "The harder you run, the faster you'll be devoured. Stay here, Anna. With me, you at least have a chance." His words made her pulse thunder, not with comfort, but with a dangerous question. A chance for life, or an opportunity to become his captive. She pushed his hand away, forcing herself to steady her breath. "You have no right to interfere in my life. I'll find Miguel. I'll handle this myself." Daniel chuckled, the sound dry, unoffended. "Handle it? You're a nurse with trembling hands from pain. And you think you can fight men who'd kill you in the blink of an eye?" Anna had no reply. His words stripped bare her helplessness. Daniel moved toward the door. Just before leaving, he looked back. "Sleep tonight. Tomorrow I'll show you the truth you've never dared to face." The door shut behind him, leaving Anna bathed in moonlight and shadows. She collapsed onto the bed, eyes wide open, her mind drowning in chaos. Miguel's image burned in her thoughts, interwoven with Daniel's piercing gaze eyes that dug into her soul. Was fate dragging her into a storm she could never escape? Or had she already stepped into it the night she took his hand? Outside, the ocean wind howled against the high walls. A faint metallic sound echoed somewhere in the dark, like a gate closing. And Anna realized with a shiver she wasn't just being kept. She was being watched with every breath, and deep inside a chilling certainty took root tomorrow, when Daniel unveiled the truth. Nothing would ever be the same again. The next morning, Anna was awakened by a soft knock on the door. A maid in a black uniform entered, bowing slightly, carrying a tray of elegantly arranged breakfast, soft-boiled eggs, buttered toast, a glass of fresh orange juice, and a porcelain pot of rich, fragrant coffee. She sat up, though her empty stomach refused the thought of food. The unease from the previous night still knotted her throat. The maid spoke politely. "Mr. Wilson requests that you change. Today, he will take you outside." Anna stiffened. Outside? For the first time since the accident, she was to step beyond the cold, towering walls of the mansion. A brand new navy dress lay on the bed, simple yet refined, its soft fabric draping gracefully along the figure. Anna frowned, feeling like she was nothing more than a piece in Daniel's carefully crafted game. A sleek black Bentley idled at the front steps. Daniel was already waiting, clad in his flawless gray suit, a dark blue tie adding a touch of restraint to his composure. When Anna descended, his gaze lingered momentarily before he gave a slight nod. "Good. That color suits you." The compliment was casual, but it sent a tremor through her chest. She turned quickly away, unwilling to let him see her falter. They sat together in the car, Daniel beside her, one arm resting lazily on the leather seat. Through the window, San Diego shone under the morning sun. But instead of freedom, Anna felt like she sat inside a moving steel cage flanked on both sides by escorting SUVs. "Where are you taking me?" she asked, her voice taut. Daniel didn't glance at her. "I want to show you exactly why I said you need protection." The convoy turned toward the old harbor district by the bay. Gone were the polished resorts and glimmering lights. Here lay only abandoned warehouses, graffiti-scrawled walls, and endless stacks of rusting containers that blocked out the sun. The car stopped. Daniel opened the door for her, his gesture polite, but his eyes unyielding. "Come with me." Anna hesitated, but those gray-blue eyes compelled her to follow. Inside a derelict warehouse, the air reeked of rust and stale smoke. Black-suited guards restrained several tattooed men with hardened faces. At seeing Daniel, they lowered their eyes, fear flashing in their expressions. Anna froze. The scene was nothing like the quiet elegance of the mansion. Here, Daniel was no refined businessman. He was a force of power that commanded terror. He stepped forward, voice low and edged with steel, who ordered the tires slashed. One man trembled, avoiding his gaze. A guard tightened his grip on the man's arm until he cried out. "Stop! They're human too! You can't just—" Anna burst out. Daniel's head snapped toward her, his eyes silencing her instantly. "Human. These men would have killed you in the dark and left your corpse staged as an accident. You call that human, Anna?" Her voice died in her throat. He hadn't raised his tone yet, every word cut like a blade. Daniel gave the faintest nod. One of his men shoved the prisoner forward, forcing him to speak. It was Victor. Victor Perez. He wanted to send Wilson a warning. Anna's breath caught. The name meant nothing to her, but how the room stiffened told her it carried weight. Daniel's lips curved in a cold, humorless smile. "I suspected as much." He turned to Anna, his voice calm, detached. "Now you see, you were nothing more than bait. They used you to drag me out of safety." Anna stumbled back, trembling. "Why me? I'm not important enough." Daniel advanced each step precise until her back met the wall. He leaned close, his face mere inches from hers. "On the contrary, you are more important than you know. They understand that I don't allow anyone to touch what I consider mine." His gray-blue eyes bored into her. Anna's heart pounded wildly, not just with fear, but with the confusing pull of something she couldn't name. I don't belong to you," she stammered. Daniel's faint smile only thickened the air around them. "Deny it all you like. Look around you. Even your existence right now rests in my hands." Tears stung her eyes, her voice swallowed by silence. Deep inside, she knew he wasn't wrong. On the way back to the mansion, the car sat silently. Daniel said nothing, his gaze fixed on the passing view, his face carved in stone. Anna sat rigid, her thoughts spiraling. The name Victor Perez echoed in her mind, but the voice inside was still louder, repeating his words. Mine. She should hate him, resent the cruel claim, the ruthless dominance. Yet when he stood between her and danger, her heart betrayed her, trembling under the strange shield he cast. Back at the estate, Daniel stepped out first. He opened her door, his movements steady as though nothing had transpired. "Rest. From now on, you don't leave this place without me." Anna looked up, catching his eyes in the fading light of dusk. And for the briefest instant, she glimpsed hardness and a shadowed fracture running deep within him. She wanted to ask why a billionaire had chosen to live like a man hunted, and what he had sacrificed to become the Wilson who made a city bow. But the words died on her lips. Daniel leaned closer, whispering, his breath brushing her cheek. "Never forget, Anna. From that night on, your fate has been bound to mine." He turned and walked away, leaving her motionless in the courtyard, bathed in twilight. Anna closed her eyes, her chest swirling with turmoil. The mansion's walls rose high around her like a glittering cage. But what terrified her most was not the enemies beyond the gates. It was the pull tightening around her heart, binding her to the man at its center. That afternoon, San Diego was struck by sudden rain. Droplets hammered against the mansion's tall windows, creating a hurried rhythm, as though warning that a storm was approaching. Anna stood before the great bookshelf in the living room, her fingers trailing absent-mindedly across the spines of old leather-bound volumes. Since returning from the abandoned warehouse, her mind had not known a moment of peace. The name Victor Perez echoed in her head like a steel hook tearing through every thought. Yet above all, the worry for Miguel haunted her nights like a consuming shadow. Whenever she closed her eyes, she saw her brother's face as a child, innocent eyes chasing after her in the park. But now, that boy had grown into a reckless teenager, too easily swayed by sweet promises laced with traps. The heavy door suddenly opened. Footsteps hurried across the floor. Anna turned and her heart faltered. Miguel. He stood at the threshold, gray hoodie soaked through rain. Dark hair plastered to his forehead, eyes torn between defiance and fear. Two of Daniel's guards loomed a few steps behind, keeping their distance but watchful. Anna? Miguel's voice trembled, though he fought to sound calm. Anna rushed forward, wrapping him in her arms. Hot tears spilled down her cheeks, soaking into his cold, damp hoodie. "Oh God, Miguel! Where have you been? Do you know how worried I've been?" Miguel pushed her away slightly, his gaze sliding aside. "I'm fine. I just had some things to take care of." Anna searched his face, reading the panic buried deep in his eyes. She gripped his shoulders. "Were you involved in my accident?" Miguel froze, his face draining of color. His lips pressed tight, desperate to deny it, but his eyes betrayed the truth. Anna's voice shook, her words breaking like glass. "Answer me, Miguel. Don't stay silent." He bowed his head, whispering so softly it was barely audible. I didn't mean to. They said if I didn't help, they would hurt you." Anna's chest constricted. Daniel had been right. Miguel had been drawn in an unwilling pawn that opened the door to those in the shadows. A voice cut through the air from the staircase, calm yet sharp as steel. "I warned you." Daniel appeared, a glass of crimson wine in hand. He descended the steps with his usual composure, though his eyes carried an unmasked edge. Your brother Anna was compromised before the accident. You were not the only target. Miguel lifted his head, anger flashing. You have no right to interfere. This is my family's business. Daniel's lips curved into a dry, humorless smile. Family. Do you think the family will protect you against Victor Perez? A 17-year-old boy against an entire syndicate? Miguel's fists clenched, his voice breaking. At least I don't want my sister locked in here like a prisoner. The words stabbed through Anna's heart. She looked at Daniel, catching the flicker of shadow in his eyes, as though Miguel's truth had struck deeper than he expected. Later that evening, Anna found Miguel sitting in the smaller lounge, his eyes fixed on his phone but unfocused. Miguel, she said softly, her tone gentler now. I need to know what you did. He hesitated, then exhaled, his shoulders sagging. They told me to put a small device in your car. I didn't know what it was for, until I heard about the accident. Then I realized. Anna's body trembled as she sank beside him. You could have killed me, Miguel. Tears welled in his eyes, his voice cracking. I didn't want to, but they were watching me all the time. They knew when you finished work where you went. If I refused, they said they'd take you out on the street. Anna's tears fell freely. She pulled him into her arms, torn between fury and compassion. He was just a child cornered by wolves. From the doorway, Daniel stood in silence. He didn't step in, only watched his gray-blue eyes carrying something unreadable, a mix of coldness and a trace of sorrow. Night fell heavily over the mansion. Sleep eluded Anna. She stepped onto the balcony, inhaling the salty sea breeze. Daniel's figure appeared in the garden, below a cigar unlit between his fingers. Something pulled her toward him. When she approached, he turned, surprise flickering briefly in his gaze. You should be resting. I can't sleep, Anna replied, her voice trembling but resolute. Daniel, will you spare Miguel? He's just a boy. Daniel studied her for a long moment. Then he set the cigar down on the stone table, folding his arms. Forgiveness isn't the issue. But you must understand, every mistake has a price in this world. Victor will see it as a weakness if I let him go unpunished. Anna stepped closer, her eyes shining with pain. This world is yours. Daniel, not mine, not Miguel's. Why should we pay the price for battles we never chose? Her question made him pause. For a heartbeat, his gaze softened. He moved closer, lifting her chin with his hand, his voice a whisper, like a secret carried on the wind. Because the night you stepped into the storm, you touched my fate. And once you felt it, you became part of it. Anna shivered, breath unsteady. The space between them thinned until even the air seemed to tremble. Her heart raced, not from fear or anger alone, but from a dangerous spark she couldn't deny. In a fleeting moment, Daniel leaned down, lips hovering near hers. Anna turned away, tears glistening in her eyes. I don't belong to this world, Daniel. And I don't belong to you. Daniel froze silent. Then he stepped back, his voice low, almost resigned. Say it as many times as you wish. One day you'll know the truth yourself. He turned and walked away, his tall figure dissolving into the silver glow of moonlight, leaving Anna shaken, her heart in turmoil. Later, when she returned to her room, she found Miguel asleep on the couch, exhaustion softening his young face. Quietly, she draped a blanket over him, whispering a vow in her heart. No matter what, she would protect Miguel from the darkness closing in. But deep down, Anna knew. To do that, she would have to remain at Daniel Wilson's side. A week after the tearful reunion between Anna and Miguel, the atmosphere in the Wilson mansion grew heavier with each passing day. The long, dimly lit corridors no longer felt like safety, but like prison walls, every footstep echoing with vigilance. Anna tried to find solace in caring for Miguel, talking to him, soothing the remnants of his fear. But inside her, the unease never left. Daniel had never explained who Victor Perez was, where he came from, or why he had forced her and Daniel into this dangerous game. One thing Anna knew: Daniel never wasted words. If he called Victor a threat, the shadow was already closing in. That afternoon, Daniel brought Anna and Miguel to the Wilson Corporation's headquarters in downtown San Diego. She saw him in a public setting for the first time, a perfectly tailored suit. A commanding presence, every employee bowing respectfully, some even trembling at the sight of him. Anna patted at his side, observing, trying to make herself small. Daniel always walked half a step ahead, as though forming an invisible shield. The top-floor conference room was lined with glass walls overlooking the entire coastal city. The golden glow of late afternoon reflected across every surface. Daniel stood at the head of the table, his eyes scanning thick stacks of documents. Suddenly the door burst open. A tall man strode inside, white shirt sleeves rolled high, a black dagger tattoo coiled around his wrist. His eyes were sharp as blades, his smirk steeped in arrogance. Daniel didn't flinch. He set his file down, his voice dropping into a low rumble. "Victor." Anna froze. She saw the man behind their chaos with her eyes for the first time. Victor Perez didn't look at Daniel first. His gaze slid to Anna, and his smile widened as he drawled, "So this is the girl who made Daniel Wilson break his own rules." Anna instinctively stepped back, her eyes darting to Daniel, seeking refuge. Daniel shifted to stand before her. Shoulders squared, his voice cold as ice. "Don't touch her." Victor's laugh rang out, echoing against the glass walls. "Daniel, when did you become so weak that a woman could be your Achilles heel? I once admired you for your ruthlessness. But now, it seems you've changed." The room thickened with tension. Anna felt her pulse hammering in her veins. She had never seen Daniel like this, his eyes blazing with frozen fury, yet something deeper smoldered underneath a fire restrained to its limit. "What do you want?" Daniel asked, voice low, sharp. Victor sat leisurely across from him, pouring himself a drink from the small bar. "I've come to negotiate half of your East Coast real estate contracts. And the girl." Anna's heart stopped. Breath caught in her throat. Daniel didn't glance at her, his stare fixed firmly on Victor. "You're dreaming." His voice dropped lower, dangerous. Victor sipped, then slammed the glass hard against the table, its crack making Anna flinch. "Don't think you can keep everything forever. You know the rules of this game. Once inside, you either share the prey or get devoured." The words sliced through the room like a blade across glass, leaving an invisible fracture. Miguel stood frozen in the corner, pale and shaken. He had never seen this world so nakedly, where lives could be bartered like currency. Anna wanted to scream to drag Miguel out of that suffocating room, but her legs refused to move. In front of her, the two men stood like opposite poles of a magnet, repelling yet locked in inevitable collision. Daniel finally stepped forward, slamming his hand flat on the glass table, his voice erupting like thunder. "If you mention her again, don't blame me for what comes next." Victor chuckled once more, but his eyes glinted with venom. "I'll give you time to think. But remember this, Daniel, no one protects their weakness forever. Not even you." He rose and strode out, leaving behind the bitter sting of liquor and smoke. When the door shut, Anna realized her whole body was trembling. Daniel turned his gaze, meeting hers. For an instant, the coldness vanished, leaving only a weight of shadow and silence. "What does he really want?" Anna whispered. Daniel didn't answer right away. He moved to the glass wall, staring at the city as its lights began to glow against the darkening sky. His tall figure loomed against the fading light, solitary and unyielding. "Victor wants everything, and he knows the only way to shake me is through you." Anna's breath faltered. She wanted to argue, to insist she wasn't that important, that Daniel was imagining things. But when he turned back to her, the truth in his eyes silenced her. In that gaze, she saw it to Daniel. She had become the one thing he would protect at all costs, and that made her the perfect target. That night back at the mansion, Anna couldn't sleep. Miguel sat on the balcony staring at the sea, his voice low and cracked. "Anna, do you ever wish you'd never met him?" The question struck deep. She didn't know how to answer. Part of her wanted to scream yes, but another part couldn't. Because without Daniel, she would have died that stormy night. Without him, Miguel might have already been lost to Victor. She sat beside her brother, gripping his hand. "Miguel, I don't know what lies ahead, but I promise, I won't leave you alone." Miguel nodded faintly, but his eyes betrayed worry. He knew her promise would come at a price. Later that night, restless Anna entered the hall and found Daniel standing alone beneath a grand painting in the living room. The golden lamplight etched shadows across his face, revealing a rare weariness. She approached hesitantly. "You're not sleeping either." Daniel turned his gray-blue eyes still sharp yet shadowed. He didn't reply, only held out a glass of wine. Anna accepted it, sipping carefully. The burn of the liquor slid down her throat, dizzying. Daniel sat across from her, silent, studying her. At last, he spoke quietly. "If you want to leave me, I'll give you that chance. But remember this, Victor won't stop. Once you walk away, you'll be alone." Anna's heart wavered. For the first time, Daniel was offering her a choice. Yet instead of relief, fear took hold. She met his gaze, seeing not just control, but a deep loneliness. This man didn't just want her near, he needed her as an anchor in the storm. Setting the glass down, Anna whispered, voice trembling. "I don't know how much I can trust you, Daniel. But I know this. If I leave, Miguel will have no one to protect him." Daniel lowered his head slightly. A faint smile touched his lips. Equal parts pain and tenderness. "At last, you understand." At that moment, Anna realized that her choice was no longer between freedom and captivity, but between life and death. And though she didn't say it aloud, she had already chosen to stay. That morning, the sky over San Diego was bleak. Heavy gray clouds smothered the coastline, and waves crashed violently against the cliffs, as though the ocean sensed something dreadful drawing near. Anna sat in the vast reading room, often seeking calm. An open classic novel lay before her, yet the words dissolved unread. Her heart remained unsettled after the confrontation between Daniel and Victor. Suddenly, sounds erupted from the courtyard below, guards shouting, dogs barking furiously, then an abrupt, terrifying silence. Anna hurried into the hallway. She saw the guards dragging something covered in a black cloth from the upper floor into the courtyard. A metallic stench filled the air. Daniel appeared, striding swiftly, his expression hardening as the cloth was pulled back. Beneath it lay a massive black wolf, its throat slit. Anna froze. That wolf was the emblem of Wilson Corporation, the very symbol of Daniel's power stamped across every project and every company logo. Victor had sent his message. That evening, the grand dining hall with its 10-meter polished walnut table felt colder than ever. Miguel sat stiffly, not touching his food. Anna touched his shoulder, sensing the tension coursing through him. At the head of the table, Daniel drank in silence, the candlelight flickering in his gray-blue eyes, sharper and colder than steel. "He wants to provoke you," Anna whispered. Daniel set his glass down, his gaze locking on her. "He wants to plant fear. But Victor forgets I was raised in the dark. Fear is the one thing that cannot touch me." He paused, then unexpectedly gave a faint, humorless smile. "But I worry for you." The words caught in Anna's throat. He hadn't said he worried for Miguel or the corporation he had said for her. For an instant, his gaze was like a fortress wall cracked open, revealing fire behind the stone. Anna wanted to believe him, yet doubt gnawed at her. "Are you sure you can protect everything? If Victor dares to leave a wolf's corpse in your courtyard, he's willing to cross every line." Daniel stood, stepping close. He bent down, voice rough and low, a vow edged with danger. "If I cannot protect you, Anna, nothing in this world is worth keeping." That night, Anna couldn't sleep. She walked out onto the balcony. The sea stretched black across the horizon, white waves slamming against rock. The wind carried the tang of salt and the phantom taste of blood in her mind. Footsteps approached. Daniel came, a black cloak around his shoulders, a glass of wine in hand. He stood silently for a long time, staring at the dark ocean. "When I was a boy," he began, "my father kept a white wolf. It was the only creature I ever called a friend. One night, his enemies killed it and left the body at our gate. They wanted me to learn that I could never hold on to what I loved." He turned to her, eyes sharp yet shadowed with grief. "Today, Victor repeats the same game. He thinks I'll be afraid. But what he doesn't understand is this: once someone dares to touch the person I love." Daniel stopped, as though realizing what he had revealed. Anna's heart clenched. "The person you love," she whispered. For a moment, even the wind seemed to be still. Daniel set his glass on the railing and stepped close, lifting her chin, forcing her to meet his unyielding gaze. "Please don't make me repeat myself, Anna." He leaned down. His lips claimed hers, not with the fierce possession of before, but slowly, firmly, like a truth carved in stone. Anna trembled. Her mind screamed warnings. He was a man of blood, a world of shadows, and she would lose herself if she fell deeper. Yet her heart betrayed her, racing, wildly dragging her into his pull. When he finally drew back, his lips brushed her ear, voice hoarse. Victor can slaughter 100 wolves, but he will never have you. The next day, news spread across the city, a massive explosion at a Wilson construction site. 3 dead, dozens injured. The press called it a technical accident, but everyone inside the mansion knew it was Victor. Miguel panicked at the news. Anna clutched him close, feeling his body shake. Daniel entered, his eyes burning with fire. He wants war, then war it will be. We end this game now. Anna's pulse hammered. And how will you end it, Daniel? With blood. He didn't hesitate. Sometimes only blood ends blood. Understand this, Anna. My world has no justice, only survival. The words hollowed her. Part of her wanted to scream in defiance, but another part, dark and terrifying, admitted without Daniel, both she and Miguel might already be dead. That evening, passing the library, Anna overheard his voice through the half-open door. Cold and merciless on the phone, prepare. I want every one of Victor's warehouses, every supply line. No one walks away alive. Anna froze her hand, gripping the doorframe. This was Daniel, no romantic savior, but an alpha wolf in the underworld, ready to drown everything in blood to keep what was his. When he emerged, their eyes met. Anna didn't turn away. Instead, she stepped forward, whispering, "If you drown in blood, Daniel, I'll stay beside you. But I fear I won't be Anna anymore." Daniel lifted his hand, touching her cheek, an achingly gentle gesture against the ruthlessness she had just heard. "You won't lose yourself. You'll only grow stronger." That night, Anna dreamed of blood flooding the sea, black and white wolves clashing in the shadows. She jolted awake, drenched in sweat. Daniel lay beside her, his arm wrapped firmly around her, holding her against his chest. His heartbeat was steady, robust, like a promise. Anna closed her eyes, letting herself sink into his embrace momentarily. But deep inside, she knew the actual storm had only begun. On the 10th night after the death of the Black Wolf, the San Diego sky glowed red as if stained with blood. A storm surged in from the coast, rain hammering violently against the thick glass windows. The Wilson mansion blazed with light, and armed guards patrolled every corner of the grounds. Anna sat by the fireplace in the grand hall, her fingers absently stroking the open pages of a book she could not read. Inside, her unease churned like an underground tide ready to break. Miguel paced restlessly, his eyes betraying panic. "Anna, I can't take this anymore. This place is a cage. I'd rather go back to the old streets than stay here," Miguel burst out. Anna seized his hand, her voice firm though trembling. "Don't say that, Miguel. If you step outside now, Victor will swallow you whole." He bit his lip, turning away. In the golden light, Anna saw how his boyish face bore the cracks of forced maturity. Thunder roared. The great door swung open. Daniel strode in, rain dripping from his coat, his gaze sharp as a blade. "Prepare," he ordered curtly to his men. "He'll strike tonight." Anna's chest tightened. She rushed to him, eyes wide with fear. "Are you certain?" "How can you know for sure?" Daniel met her gaze, his voice low and unshakable. "I've learned to read Victor's steps. When he sends a message, he's already at the door." The words had barely left his lips when a deafening explosion shook the mansion. Glass shattered and smoke filled the air. Anna screamed, pulling Miguel into her arms. Guards raised their weapons, moving into formation. Daniel lunged forward, wrapping his arms around Anna, dragging her to the floor as shards of glass rained down. Gunfire erupted outside, the storm of bullets cutting through the night. "Stay down," he growled into her ear. In the flickering glow of the emergency lights, Anna saw his face close to hers, their breaths mingling. His gray-blue eyes blazed not with fear, but with the fierce fire of a man burning against the storm. A deadly symphony, the gunfight raged for 10 endless minutes before falling silent. Only the relentless drum of rain remained. Daniel pulled Anna and Miguel up, leading them swiftly to the underground bunker. Inside the steel-walled chamber, the cold light revealed Anna's pale face as she clutched Miguel tight. Daniel stood tall opposite them, a dark stain spreading across his shoulder. "You're hurt," Anna gasped, rushing toward him. He pushed her hands gently away, voice clipped. "It's not my blood." Yet his weary eyes betrayed the toll. Anna's fists tightened. "Daniel, how much more blood will it take? Do you mean to turn this house into a battlefield?" He leaned down, brushing her cheek with a cold yet achingly tender touch. "If not for blood, Anna, you would have died that first night. I have no regrets." Tears welled in her eyes. She hated the cruel truth, yet she could not deny it. The radio crackled. A guard reported, "We caught 2 men. They say Victor is near. He wants to enter the mansion himself." The room fell into silence. Daniel's jaw clenched, his eyes flashing with lethal fire. "He wants me to come out," he murmured. Anna trembled. "You're going out there." "No, it's a trap." Daniel's gaze burned. "I have no choice. If I hide, he'll believe he's won. And then, not just me, but you and Miguel will be doomed." Anna grabbed his hand, choking back sobs. "Daniel, if you go, you may never come back." For a heartbeat, he faltered. Then he pulled her into his arms, crushing his lips against hers in a savage, desperate kiss, like a farewell carved in fire. "If I don't return, Anna, remember this. From this moment on, you are the last thing I chose to keep." His voice broke raw from the depths of him. Anna's tears spilled, but she no longer pushed him away. She let her heart be consumed, even knowing it might shatter. Daniel left the bunker, leaving Anna and Miguel behind in the guard's protection. The pounding rain outside echoed like war drums. Anna fell to her knees, clutching her brother. Terror clawed at her chest. This time Daniel might not return. But alongside that terror, a new resolve stirred. She could not hide behind him forever. If she did, she would only remain a burden. Anna rose to her feet, her eyes alight with a determination she had not felt in days. "Miguel, we have to do something. I won't let Daniel face this alone." Miguel stared at her, trembling. "Anna, what are you talking about? We're not soldiers. We don't even have weapons." Anna bit her lip, inhaling deeply. She saw Daniel bloodied, yet unyielding in her heart, standing against the storm for her sake. He had risked everything for her time and again. This time, she could not abandon him. Meanwhile, in the front courtyard, Daniel stood face to face with Victor Perez. The glare of the floodlights cast their figures into a scene straight from hell. Victor smiled, his eyes gleaming with twisted delight. "So the wolf finally shows his face. I've waited for this moment a long time." Daniel did not answer. The storm whipped his coat, his gray-blue eyes hard as tempered steel. The 2 men stood locked in silence, predator against predator. And from a hidden vantage on the upper floor, Anna watched her chest tightening, breath caught in her throat. The storm had come, and this time she knew blood would be spilled. The front courtyard of the Wilson mansion blazed under the floodlights. Rain slashed in sheets, lightning splitting the sky, as if determined to witness this fateful confrontation. Daniel stood tall, his rain-soaked shirt clinging to his solid frame, and his gray-blue eyes were as sharp as a drawn blade. Across from him, Victor Perez smirked, a cigar glowing red between his fingers, as if the storm itself were beneath his notice. "So you've finally stepped out." Daniel Victor, rasped voice laced with amusement and scorn. "I thought you'd hide forever behind your walls and guards. But it seems that girl matters this much to you?" His gaze flicked toward the second-floor window, where Anna stood frozen watching. Daniel immediately took a step forward, shielding her with nothing but his presence, his voice thunderous. "Mention her again, Victor, and I'll ensure you never speak again." Victor's laughter cracked the storm, cruel and cutting. "That's exactly what I wanted to see. Daniel Wilson, the untouchable, the ruthless, finally has a weakness." He snapped his fingers. From the shadows, dozens of armed men surged forward, rifles raised toward the mansion. Daniel's guards instantly answered, lasers flashing crimson through the rain. The air itself trembled with tension. In the bunker below, Miguel flinched at the crack of gunfire panic consuming his young face. He clutched Anna's hand, tears streaming. "We can't just sit here. What if Daniel loses?" Anna's chest burned with fear. She knew Daniel was strong, but Victor wasn't just here to defeat him. He wanted to destroy everything he protected. She inhaled sharply, resolve sparking in her eyes. "Miguel, I have to go up there." Her brother froze, shaking his head frantically. "No, he'll kill you just to break." "Daniel." Anna swallowed hard, but her heart was already decided. She couldn't leave Daniel alone in the fire. If love meant anything, this was the moment to prove it. Above, the firefight erupted in chaos. Daniel moved with deadly precision, returning fire his silhouette like a lone wolf cutting through the storm. Victor lounged behind an armored SUV cigar, clenched between his teeth, grinning wider with each drop of blood spilled. Suddenly, an explosion tore through the gate's flames and smoke billowing. In the confusion, Anna burst from the hall, her breath, ragged eyes blazing. Daniel roared, his voice breaking. She stood in the rain hair plastered to her pale face, small frame illuminated in the floodlights, fragile yet defiant. Victor froze a beat, then let out a wicked laugh. "There she is, the precious pawn you guard like treasure." He raised his gun, leveling it at her. "One bullet, Daniel, and this game ends." Daniel's heart stopped. He lunged forward, but Victor's rifles blocked his path. Anna did not move. Though her body trembled, her eyes burned as she looked at Victor, then at Daniel, silently declaring she was no longer a helpless hostage. "If you kill me," Anna's voice wavered but held firm, "you will never defeat Daniel, because I am the reason he is stronger." Victor's sneer faltered, anger flashing in his eyes. He hadn't expected defiance from the fragile girl. Daniel seized the opening. His gun barked, dropping Victor's men one by one. Chaos erupted, shouts, smoke, and rain mingling into a cacophony of war. A bullet grazed Anna's shoulder. She collapsed, blood soaking her dress. Daniel caught her, dragging her into his arms. "Fool! I told you to stay hidden!" His voice cracked with fury and despair. Anna bit back the pain, tears blurring her vision yet shining with fire. "If you die, I don't want to live alone." Daniel froze. The battle noise dimmed in that instant, leaving only her unwavering gaze. He crushed his lips against hers, a kiss wild and desperate, burning with love and farewell. When he pulled back, his eyes blazed like a storm unleashed. He turned to Victor, voice roaring, "She is not my weakness, she is my strength." Daniel launched forward like a predator. The two men collided, fists and blades clashing their struggle, illuminated by lightning and blood. Anna, bleeding beneath the eaves, watched with wide eyes as Miguel dragged her to safety. But she could not look away. Every strike, every cut tore at her soul. Victor snarled, his knife slashing deep into Daniel's arm, blood mixing with rain to stain the ground crimson. But Daniel didn't retreat. Gripping Victor's throat, his voice thundered, "Tonight is your end." With a final crushing blow, Victor collapsed onto the soaked tiles, blood spilling from his lips. His eyes, wide with hatred, dimmed into lifelessness. Silence fell over the courtyard. Only the rain remained drumming on stone. Daniel turned, body drenched in blood, breath ragged. But when his gaze found Anna, fury melted into something fiercer, love that burned through the storm. He rushed to her, pulling her into his arms, whispering hoarsely, "You're alive. And that's the only victory I need." Anna sobbed, clinging to him. In that embrace, she knew their love, born in darkness, baptized in blood, was the only force keeping them alive. By dawn, the mansion stood heavy with loss. The dead were carried away, but the stench of blood lingered. Anna sat by the window, shoulder bandaged, staring at the restless sea. Daniel entered, a clean shirt hiding wounds that still ached. He came to her, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. "I could lose everything," he murmured, gray-blue eyes softened by fire and fragility. "But I cannot lose you." Anna turned, tears glimmering. "If this love began in blood, let it end in life, Daniel. I want to believe we can still escape this darkness." He did not answer. Instead, he bent, pressing his lips to her forehead in a long, silent vow. Outside, the ocean glowed under the rising sun, yet both knew this peace was only a fragile dawn, and the final choice still awaited them. After that blood-soaked night, the Wilson mansion sank into an eerie stillness. No more gunfire, no more heavy footsteps of guards pacing the halls. Yet the silence did not feel like safety. It was more like the pause before fate delivered its final verdict. Anna sat by the tall window of her room. Beyond the glass, dawn crept across the storm-gray sky, weak rays of light pushing through the clouds. Her shoulder still ached from the wound, but within her heart the storm of emotions raged stronger. Daniel had killed Victor. The battle everyone thought would drag on had ended in a single night. Yet with that victory, part of Daniel's soul had been torn apart. Miguel entered his young face shadowed with worry. "Anna, where do we go now? With Victor gone, is it finally over?" Anna squeezed his hand, her gaze soft but conflicted. "I don't know, Miguel, but maybe for the first time we have the right to hope." She wanted to believe it, but whenever her eyes found Daniel standing alone in the courtyard, blood still staining his shirt, his gaze lost in storms only he could see, she knew the fight with Victor had been just one chapter. The true darkness waited outside, ready to devour anyone bold enough to stand against it. That night, she found Daniel in the library. The air was thick with the scent of old wood and cigar smoke. He sat silently, a glass of wine swirling in his hand, gray-blue eyes staring into nothing. "What are you thinking?" she asked softly. Daniel looked up, a fleeting smile tugging at his lips, though his eyes carried the weight of iron. "I'm thinking about the cost. Every time a man like Victor falls, another enemy rises. It's a cycle I can't escape." Anna moved closer, sitting beside him. "Then why do you stay in it?" He said nothing at first, gripping the glass, until the veins on his hand stood out. Finally, he turned, fire and weariness mingling in his gaze. "Because I never had anything worth leaving for. Not until you." Her heart pounded. In that moment, Anna saw through the armor of steel and blood the man within who longed for freedom, love, and a light he had believed forever out of reach. "If that's true," she whispered, "then let me be why you walked away. Daniel, we can start over somewhere far from this darkness." He shook his head, a bitter smile ghosting across his face. "This world doesn't allow second chances. Once you step into it, there's no way back." Anna's eyes glistened, but her voice held steady. "Then I'll walk with you. We'll make our own road forward if there's no way back." Her words ignited a flame in the night. Daniel pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly as if letting go meant losing her forever. The next day, Daniel dismissed most of the guards from the estate. Newspapers buzzed with headlines about Victor Perez's mysterious disappearance. In the underworld, rumors swirled, but no one dared speak Daniel Wilson's name aloud. Anna and Miguel left San Diego for a time under Daniel's arrangement. They traveled to a small seaside house in Oregon. The ocean was calm, the air salt-sweet, untouched by blood and violence. At first, Anna could not adjust. Every loud sound made her flinch. Shadows still carried the scent of gunpowder in her mind. But slowly, she learned to trust the quiet. She learned to smile again as Miguel ran freely in the yard without bodyguards at his back. A week later, Daniel arrived. He drove up alone, no convoy, no luxury cars. Just a man in a white shirt and dark jeans, stripped of the empire that shadowed him. When Anna opened the door, their eyes met. Without words, she stepped into his embrace, the warmth between them more potent than any explanation. Days turned into weeks. Daniel rarely spoke of business. Instead, he cooked with Anna, walked the beach beside her, and listened to Miguel's laughter. One evening, as the sun dipped crimson into the sea, Anna sat on the sand with Daniel's hand entwined in hers. "Do you ever wonder," she whispered, "if love won't be enough to keep us from the darkness?" Daniel squeezed her hand, gaze unwavering. "I don't believe in miracles, but I believe in you. You pulled me out of the abyss, Anna, and I swear I won't let anyone touch you again." Her tears sparkled as she leaned against his shoulder, the waves carrying their vow into eternity. Daniel returned briefly to San Diego a month later to settle unfinished matters. Anna waited in their small seaside home, heart tight with worry. Yet unlike before, she no longer felt powerless. She knew whatever darkness he faced, his heart already belonged to her, an anchor no enemy could break. The night he returned exhausted but clear-eyed. Anna ran into his arms. His whisper against her ear was soft. "Final. It's over. Now it's just us." At that moment, Anna understood that love may not erase the past, but could forge a new future. 1 year later, on the Oregon shore, Anna walked barefoot down a sandy aisle, her white gown flowing in the breeze, a bouquet of blue roses in her hands, flowers Daniel had chosen himself, symbols of the impossible made possible. At the end of the aisle, Daniel waited. His gray-blue eyes were softened, though his presence still carried the quiet strength that defined him. When she reached him, his smile lit the horizon, a smile Anna knew she would carry in her heart forever. The ceremony was small, intimate, with only a handful of trusted friends. Yet to Anna, it was the most beautiful moment of her life. As Daniel slipped the ring onto her finger, he whispered, "From now on, you are not only my light, you are the reason I exist." Her tears fell, but they were tears of joy. Their love had not begun with gentle music, but with blood storms and darkness. And yet, because of that, it was unshakable. They had chosen each other even when the world around them collapsed. Sometimes the most beautiful love is not perfect, but the love brave enough to walk through the shadows, to finally discover the light. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and leave a comment to share your feelings.